iPhone 2G. The original model suffered from a lack of high-speed connectivity, relying on the sluggish Edge network, which made mobile browsing feel like a chore. It also lacked an app store at launch, meaning users were stuck with the pre-installed utilities until Apple pivoted their strategy. iPhone 3G. While it fixed the data speed issues of its predecessor, the plastic back was notorious for developing hairline cracks near the charging port and buttons. It also struggled significantly with performance once later versions of iOS were released, making the hardware feel obsolete faster than expected. iPhone 4. This device introduced the stunning Retina display but was overshadowed by the AntennaGate scandal, where holding the phone a certain way caused the signal to drop entirely. Apple eventually had to provide free rubber bumpers to customers to bridge the gap in the external antenna design. iPhone 5. The transition to the Lightning connector was a major pain point because it rendered a decade's worth of 30-pin accessories and speaker docks useless without expensive adapters. Furthermore, the black slate model was highly susceptible to scuffing and chipping right out of the box. iPhone 6. This model became synonymous with Bendgate, as the thin aluminum chassis was found to warp under the pressure of being kept in a tight pocket. This structural weakness eventually led to touch disease, a hardware failure where the display would become unresponsive due to internal chips shifting. iPhone SE. Its primary drawback was the use of aging hardware components, specifically a front-facing camera and a first-generation Touch ID sensor that felt years behind the flagship models. The small screen size was a deliberate choice for some, but it made modern web browsing and media consumption feel cramped. iPhone 7. The controversial removal of the dedicated headphone jack forced a massive shift toward wireless audio or the use of cumbersome dongles. This model also faced a specific logic board flaw known as loop disease, which would eventually cause the microphone to stop working and the phone to hang on the boot screen. iPhone 8. Despite being a solid performer, its design felt instantly dated the moment it was released alongside the bezel-less flagship. The glass back was also incredibly expensive to repair, often costing more than a screen replacement despite being a purely aesthetic component. iPhone 10. As the first model to remove the home button, the gesture-based navigation had a steep learning curve for longtime users. The introduction of the notch was also a major point of contention, as it cut into full-screen video content and took time for app developers to work around. iPhone 11. The base model continued to use a lower-resolution LCD panel at a time when competitors had fully transitioned to OLED. While the cameras were excellent, the thick bezels around the screen made the device feel less premium than its Pro counterparts. iPhone 12. Apple made the decision to stop including a power adapter and wired earpods in the box, citing environmental concerns. This move frustrated buyers who didn't already own compatible USB-C charging bricks, essentially adding an hidden cost to the initial purchase. iPhone 13. The cinematic mode and camera upgrades were impressive, but the device was criticized for being an extremely iterative update with very few reasons for iPhone 12 owners to switch. The diagnostic repair process also became more restricted, making third-party screen replacements disable Face ID functionality. iPhone 14. The standard model used the exact same chip as the previous year, marking the first time Apple didn't upgrade the processor across the entire lineup. It lacked the dynamic island found on the Pro models, leaving the base version feeling like a reskinned version of the hardware from a year prior. iPhone 15. The shift to USB-C was a welcome change for many, but the base models were limited to USB 2.0 transfer speeds, which felt archaic for a modern smartphone. Early units also faced reports of overheating during intensive tasks, requiring a rapid software patch to manage thermal performance. iPhone 16. The new dedicated camera control button added a layer of physical complexity that some found unintuitive to use with one hand. Additionally, many of the most anticipated software features were not available at launch, leaving early adopters waiting months for the device to reach its full potential. iPhone 17. The push for an even thinner profile has led to concerns regarding battery capacity and thermal management in such a constrained space. By prioritizing aesthetics over internal volume, the device faces the challenge of maintaining high-end performance without the cooling overhead seen in thicker predecessors. With that, we have covered the major flaws behind each iPhone model over the years.